Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Manchester, when you were last before this committee, you said that the Bahamas was a protectorate of the United States. The Bahamas is a sovereign nation. How do you expect to go to a country who you described as a protectorate and is a sovereign nation with its own democracy, elected leadership, and whatnot, and be thought of in a way that will treat them with respect?
Well, I answered that question, and the bottom line was the fact that I've been going there for years, and I know that it's a sovereign, independent country. As I said in my previous testimony, and I certainly know the fact that it is a sovereign and independent nation, and what I was referring to was the fact that we have joint defense forces, and we're joined at the hip, as we should be, to defending our mutual shores.
Well, being a protectorate of the United States, words matter, especially when you're going to be an ambassador. Being a protectorate of the United States is not about mutual defense. Being a protector of the United States is almost like you're a ward of the United States. And so Bahamas is not a ward of the United States.
I understood that, and I corrected my statement.
I didn't hear you correct your statement. I just heard you say that now you recognize it's a sovereign nation. I'm glad we've come to that point. Let me ask you this. I want to talk about your time running the San Diego Union Tribune. A 2018 Washington Post article described the environment for women who worked at the paper and its affiliated TV station, UTTV, as toxic. Speaking of you, one woman said that, quote, "You don't want to get caught alone in the elevator with him." Others described the environment as Mad Men style, and the hiring meetings were like a boys' club, and the boys picked which women they wanted. To be clear, we're talking about 2011 to 2015, not 10, 20, or 30 years ago. Is this type of culture appropriate?
I've been involved with 55 years of business, 27 different companies, 6,000 employees, and that's a salacious and inaccurate depiction. I've never been accused of sexual harassment, ever.
And so do you have any objection then, if that's the case, to diplomatic security or the FBI examining the accusations related to the workplace environment you fostered, or you were alleged to have fostered, at the Union Tribune, and sharing their findings with members of this committee prior to the committee vote on your nomination?
I don't have any objection and never have.
Let me ask you this. You were cited in the Washington Post article, which you said is salacious. This is an article that was based on the conversations with more than 20 women and men, as saying that you took action to address, quote unquote, egregious mistakes by the staff at the San Diego Union Tribune. What were those mistakes?
What I was referring to there is the fact that, once again, I have not ever been involved in any kind of sexual harassment, a claim in 55 years of business and 6,000 employees. I don't know what they're referring to there. That was a salacious...
This is your direct quote. You said that you took action to address, quote, egregious mistakes by the staff at the San Diego Union Tribune. Now, I'm asking you, if you took action to address egregious mistakes, what were those actions? What were the mistakes that you were correcting? Did you institute any disciplinary actions? Did you fire anybody? I mean, you're going to be the head, if you're confirmed, of a mission that is going to have a diverse, both in gender, race, ethnicity, workforce. And we've got to know that at the very beginning that the person who's heading the embassy is going to create an environment that is worthy of working in. So I want to understand, based upon your own remarks, what were the mistakes that the staff that you hired, what were the mistakes they created, and what did you do to correct those mistakes?
We have instituted policies in every one of the companies that I've been involved with that, in fact, if somebody, in fact, did something wrong, we, in fact, fired them.
Who did you fire at the San Diego Union Tribune then?
I can't recall, because the fact that I didn't work on a day-to-day basis for the individuals that were running the TV station I think that they're referring to.
Well, you're going to have to give me better answers than that. Mr. Bremberg, This is the problem with 4 panelists and 5 minutes, so I know there'll be another round at least. But in your written answers to my pre-hearing questions about adding a citizenship question to the census, you stated that you, quote, discussed your opinion on including the citizenship status census question with other White House staff. What is your opinion on including a citizenship question on the census?
Senator, given my employment in the White House as an advisor to the president, I don't think it would be appropriate for me to discuss the confidentiality.
I didn't ask you that. I asked you your opinion. I didn't ask you what you said to the president. I asked you what your opinion is. What's your opinion?
Yes, Senator. I believe disclosing my opinion on the matter would open up for any further inquiry into
What type of
advice I may.
What type of privilege are you asserting here?
Senator, I'm not asserting any privilege.
Well, if you're not asserting any privilege, then how is it that you failed to answer a question of the committee at your confirmation hearing?
Senator, I'm happy to discuss any policy, or I can.
This is a policy. You're going to be going to an institution that has, among the wide array of issues, the questions of people in refugee status, the questions of people in a series of ways in which views such as this are insightful for the committee to understand how you're going to act at that location.
I understand, and I'm happy to describe the policy. I just want to be careful. I know other nominees who have come before the committee that have served in the White House have not gone down the road of providing their personal opinion, but I'm happy to articulate the administration's position. This is not an attempt to distance myself from it. I'm just being clear that I'm not just providing my personal opinion. I can describe the reason behind the policy that the Census Department put forward, if that's what you'd like to hear, Senator.
No, I asked a specific question. You're smart enough to give me a specific answer. So I'm sending a letter to you today, which I ask unanimous consent to be entered into the record.
It will be.
I have to understand, as I continue to ask you questions of this and other nature, if you're going to exert privileges, you're going to tell me what privilege you're asserting. Because as far as I'm concerned, there's no rational basis for a privilege to be asserted when I ask you things that are not directly in conversations with the President of the United States, but that go to insights into the policy views you will hold at a critical institution.